Is there something general to say about what the psychedelics do to the human mind? You mentioned kind of an ego loss experience in the space of Venn diagrams. If we're to like draw a big circle, what can we say about that big circle?
In terms of people's report of subjective experience, probably one of the most general things we can say is that it expands that range. So many people come out of these sessions saying that they didn't know it was possible to have an experience like that.
So there's an emphasis on the subjective experience. That is there words that people put to it that capture that experience, or is it something that just has to be experienced?
Yeah, people like.
As a researcher, that's an interesting question because you have to kind of measure the effects of this, and how do you convert that into numbers?
Right.
That's the ultimate challenge. So how is that possible to, one, convert it into words, and the second, convert the words into numbers somehow?
So we do a lot of that with questionnaires, some of which are very psychometrically validated. So lots of numbers have been crunched on them. And there's always a limitation with questionnaires. I mean, subjective effects are subjective effects. Ultimately, it's what the person is reporting, and that doesn't necessarily point towards a ground truth.
Right.
What they're So, for example, if someone says that they felt like they touched another dimension, or they felt like they sensed the reality of God,
Mm-hmm.
or if they, I mean, just you name it, people's ontological views can sometimes shift. I think that's more about where they're coming from, and I don't think it's the quintessential way in which they work. There's plenty of people that hold on to a completely naturalistic viewpoint and have profound and helpful experiences with these compounds, but the subjective effects can be so broad that for some people it shifts their philosophical viewpoint more towards idealism, more towards thinking of that the nature of reality might be more about consciousness than about material. That's a domain I'm very interested in. Right now, we have essentially zero to say about that in terms of validating those types of claims, but it's even interesting just to see what people say along those lines.
So you're interested in saying, like, can we more rigorously study this process of expansion? Like, what do we mean by this expansion of your sense of what is possible in the experiences in this world?
Right, as much as what we can say about that through naturalistic psychology.
Right.
Especially as much as we can root it to solid psychological constructs and solid neuroscientific constructs.